Warm up the lips. Tip of the tongue, teeth in the lips.
Warming up
the lips. Let's dive in. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I am your host, David. And here my guest is my friend, Rich.
Is it Rich?
Is it Richard?
Rich is fine.
Rich, we've known each other, I'd say the best part of, 15 years?
I think, I was thinking about this in the car on the way here earlier. I think it was end of 2010 I met you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
15, 16 years. And I think doing the sort of bit of homework before we sat and had this podcast, I think was thinking about the memories that we've created together and things that definitely come to mind. For those of you that are watching and don't know, Rich and I used to work together, and such things used to happen in our canteen at work. Bottle bin.
Phenomenal.
The greatest game.
Phenomenal game.
Ever created. Essentially, for those of you that don't know, if you take an empty Coca-Cola bottle and put it on the floor like a rugby ball and then kick it for touch, but kick it into a bin, that's bottle bin. And we used to just spend like our lunch breaks, right?
Oh, it's phenomenal. And it got banned after a while because of the noise it was
People
making.
were walking through the canteen,
interrupting us,
trying to have lunch, and we were kicking bottles across the room.
I see nothing wrong with that.
I see nothing wrong with that.
It's good fun. It's good-natured fun.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the higher management were like, it's not really fair that like people are dodging sort of plastic bottles.
I mean, to be fair, I wasn't a manager at that point. That was you. I was just a member of staff.
Yeah, the Darren Carters of the world.
Yeah.
Good old Darren.
Yeah.
Good old DC.
That's it.
The five-a-sides, being in goal, me being in goal, and just basically throwing the ball really long for you up front.
I mean, it was brilliant. I wish I still played five-a-side, to be honest.
You're not been playing five-a-side much?
No, I literally haven't played football since probably the last time we played five-a-side.
Yeah.
I'm a golfer now. I play golf now.
Yeah, we've had this golf chat, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly.
I have some clubs.
Let's get out and
I've
play
just
some.
not. Mini golf. Played some mini golf for the weekend. That's only
It's not
one
serious
club.
enough for me. No, I'm joking. I love mini golf. I love mini golf. I'm not a good golfer.
Have you been to the mini golf place? It's a garden centre nearby.
I know
sort
the
of
one.
Chinham
Yeah, I know
area.
the one. So they redid it recently, didn't
Yes.
they? Because I went to it quite a lot when it first opened.
Yeah.
But I haven't been to it.
So
since it opened.
I mean, it was good before anyway.
Yeah.
They've now moved it across the car park to a different area. And it's really, really good. Really good. It's the second time I went there last weekend, I think it was, with my dad and daughter. Mate, recommend it. So
I'll give it a
good.
go.
So good. And then Primark, which is essentially how we met, right?
Yeah, like your tattoo artist lived across the road from me, and then like I met her randomly, and then she started tattooing me from her kitchen, and I was like, I need to get a job, and she was like, I know just the man, and like got me in touch with you. I think I had an interview like 2 days later, and then I was starting like the week after.
It was a massive recruitment drive in a store where there's like 120 staff, and it's like, you know, get these people in, and I was doing the interviews. And I just remember sat there, I literally still remember now to this day, like interviewing you and asking you questions. And I remember like your answers were so good. And I was like, this guy's actually really intelligent. This guy actually knows what he's talking about. And I remember the position wasn't it like part-time customer service
yeah,
or
that's
something?
Exactly it. 4 hours a day on the customer
Yeah,
service.
I'm like, this guy's too good to be. But I'm like, look, please accept the role. And like, it'll grow with you. Like, hopefully, and I was like hoping and wishing that you would take the role. To which you did, right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing, like, I got into uni, but then I was sat there in the summer before, and I was like I was going to do some sort of pony TV production, and I just kind of sat there, and I was like, I'm going to waste so much money, and all I'm really going to the uni for is for the social bit, right? I've always preferred working. You know, my first job when I was like in college was working at McDonald's, and like I just loved it. I loved earning my money, and I liked, you know, I never really. Like got on board with academia that much. People throughout my life have said, you know, you're intelligent and you're smart, but I don't know. I like the application of doing things. So I was like, you know what, I need a job. We finished college, and my parents said, you need to get a job. And I said, just chill, let me have the summer. I'll get a job in September. By September 1st, I had the job in Primark. But I always knew that it would give me an opportunity really to kind of get on and progress and work my way up. And it's what I did at McDonald's. I started there as, you know, just on the tills, and I left there a floor manager.
Mm-hmm.
And it was similar with Primark, really. I went in there 4 hours a day, and 3.5 years later, I was a department manager.
Mm. Yeah, I remember that. I'm sure there was a point where essentially we were both the same sort of level of management, and I was like, wow, like look how far you've come, and look how far I haven't moved. This is not good.
But I mean, to be fair, I just felt like that job is a trap, right?
Yeah.
You know, when you get to that level, there's only so much further you can go, and it's a bit of a boys' club, especially it was at the time. You know, you had to be in that circle, and you had to be kind of friendly
Yeah.
with the right people. And if your face didn't fit, then
Yeah.
you just kind of stuck there, which is obviously why we both left in the end.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say I was the perfect, member of staff, but I think there was definitely an element of like, I was very useful to have around. I lived super close. If alarms were going off, they will sort that. If the store manager's lost his keys and the store needs to be open because the cleaners need to get in, Dave's on day off. Oh, don't worry, call Dave, he'll come.
Yeah, and I'll never forgive you for when you left, and then I was the next closest.
Were you?
Yeah.
Oh,
so I got all the call outs and everything.
Yeah, and I felt like, trying to like move forward and be like a senior department manager, and then just thinking I'll never be allowed to move on because I'm too useful here. But also I definitely wasn't the best manager I could have been. I think in an environment where you're under some very toxic management, and we could name names, but we won't. You kind of adjust accordingly to get through your day, right?
100%. I mean, I was 21. I was working around like 60, 70 hours a week most weeks. I was coming in at like 6 a.m. I was leaving some nights at 10 o'clock. I was existing on a diet of cigarettes and energy drink, really. I wasn't really eating lunch or anything. Like, it was horrific. I lost so much weight. Just I was only a manager there for just over a year, I think, before in the end I just had to go because there's only so much you can do. And I remember like all my friends would be like, and I was 21 at the time, and my friends were like, we're going to go out this weekend, we're going to do that. And I said, oh, sorry, I've got to get up and I've got to be in the store at 7 a.m. on Sunday morning. It was there were parts of that job I loved. I had some really good times, and a lot of the people there were fantastic as well. But I just think what it took out of me, it just wasn't worth it.
No, definitely. Well, moving on from that, we attended each other's weddings, as well, which is a mad thought because like tomorrow is my 10-year wedding anniversary.
It's crazy, isn't it?
10 years.
Yeah. Shah and I just celebrated our 7th. Well,
congratulations.
Thank you very much. I was thinking about this a little while ago. There's always like one person from every job I've had that I keep in contact with, like properly. You are that person from Primark. I don't really speak to anyone else. Occasionally I'll go in there with my wife and I'll see someone from back in the day, but that's the extent of the conversation. Whereas for you, like, we'll pop up every now and again and have a conversation, meet up for a coffee. As you said, we used to play five-a-side a lot. That was great fun as well. But I think it's quite interesting that there always seems to be kind of one person in a role that you kind of stick to. And you're like, you know what, that guy's good.
And I think one of the main reasons for inviting you onto this pod, and we've had some sort of pre-conversation before coming here as well, is that we've both got some sort of some stories to tell. I think we want to have a chat as men around mental health and how it's good to talk about things and people can relate and all that kind of stuff. And sort of moving on nicely from how we know each other, how we met, how we worked together. There was a good sort of few years where, you'd moved on, I was doing other things and whatever. And then I don't know why or how, but I was like, oh, it'd be really nice to catch up. And I think actually what it was, I think we tried to catch up a few times, but things got in the way.
Yeah.
You could make it, I could make it, whatever. And then we'll always remember, and it's a big turning point in my life. And it's crazy that you are sort of that important to me in my life that, when we finally met up for that coffee, Patisserie Valerie, right?
Yeah, that's
Patisserie
right.
Valerie,
Yeah.
love the mille-feuille, custard, icing, all of those wonderful things.
Absolutely banging.
And sitting there and having that conversation with you, catching up with you and that kind of stuff. And then sort of, I was like, hey man, how's things? How you been? And you just came out and said it. You were like, I've had therapy. And I was like, therapy? You've had therapy? why have you had therapy? And I couldn't understand, because I don't know anyone that's ever said that to me. I think you're the only person that's ever said that to me.
It's such a thing, especially for men as well. Like
Mhm.
it's such a, I mean, like obviously it's well trodden ground. You know, mental health is stigmatized, especially within men. I just thought that I got so much out of it that, do you know what? I'm just going to tell people. You know, I'm going to be very honest with it.
Yeah.
You know, I got a lot of good stuff out of therapy, and I wanted to share that with the world, just in the off chance that one person was listening that might think, actually, that's a good idea. And that's obviously why I'm here today.
Yeah. So, I mean, over to you. Like, feel free, share as much or as little as you wish on that kind of therapy journey. Like, over to you.
So I've always been like incredibly anxious, and like even from like a kid. Obviously at the time I don't really know what's going on, but I overthink everything. You know, the smallest thing. You know, when you're talking about like your friends when you're a kid, if I've said something, I would maybe ruminate on that for a long time, or you know, that classic before you go to sleep at night, your brain brings that up and that sort of thing. So I kind of always knew that there was something, you know, my brain maybe didn't function perfectly. And all throughout my life, I kind of got quite good at masking it. You know, I got quite good at, you know, just going along and maybe mimicking really what I saw from other like boys and eventually men as I grew up. And it wasn't until actually I remember when my parents got divorced, and that was maybe like 2011, 2012. So it's around about the same sort of time that we were spending a lot of time together. There was a lot of stress going on at home, a lot of stress going on at work, as we've already covered.
Yeah.
And I started like doing like involuntary like vocal tics, and I'd make like little noises.
Right.
And that lasted for like a little while. And it took me, I think I made a conscious effort, and I was like, just stop doing that. Like just telling myself, stop doing it, stop doing it. Didn't really ever wonder what had caused it. And it kind of resolved itself. I thought nothing really of it. And then as I left home, and I kind of got a bit more responsibility for myself, I think I don't really know at what point it switched over, but I started becoming a bit more withdrawn. You know, I didn't really want to go out, and I didn't really want to do things. I didn't really want to leave the house. I was mugged at knife point around this sort of time as well.
Yeah.
And whilst everyone there we were fine, no one got hurt. We obviously, it was quite traumatic. We got our stuff stolen, and it was, you know, it was a big thing. And they took my house key and my driving license, which had my address on it. The police officer, they came and collected us. Went to the station for statements, and my friend's mum had picked us up and then dropped me home. My parents weren't home, so I remember I just sat there for like an hour and a half on the doorstep, just worried that these people were going to come.
Yeah.
So all these things kind of just kind of mashed together, and you know, as a man, you're taught just, you know, deal with it, push the feelings down. So I tried to do that. And then you get older and you get more responsibilities, and all of a sudden you're paying rent and you're paying bills, and you're having to worry about, you know, work and getting to your job on time and doing a good job and that sort of thing. And then COVID hit, and obviously like everyone had problems with COVID, everyone had trauma from COVID.
Yep.
For me, the vocal stim came back.
Right.
And I remember actually it was maybe in the run-up, 'cause I just moved to a new job, and I remember being in the office there, and I remember the vocal like stim coming back, and I was like, right, I've got to squash this down. But the problem is, I just felt so like tired. Like I wasn't the same person, you know, 10 years prior had that happen.
Yeah.
I just felt like I was just, you know, I was so tired from just coping that I didn't have the energy in me to kind of sit myself down and be like, no, stop.
Yeah.
And it kept getting worse, and it got to, and you know, I was mortally embarrassed about it. And it actually, you know, it worked out quite well, because at that point we went into lockdown. I didn't need to go to the office anymore, which meant I didn't have to worry about it. And obviously it was just my wife at home. So eventually she noticed, and she'd be like, what are you doing? Why are you making that noise? I was like, I don't know. I can't tell you why I'm making that noise. And in the end, she said to me, I think you should go to therapy. And I was hesitant, honestly, at first. I was like, therapy's not gonna be any good for me. But I'm glad I did, and I'm glad she pushed me, because like honestly, it was phenomenal, and it wasn't without its bumps in the roads either really, because my first therapist, I had 3 sessions, and then he ghosted me.
Yeah.
Just out of nowhere, just didn't turn up for a session,
Yeah.
didn't respond to any phone calls or emails.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was like, I'm just going to stop. Like, this is obviously useless. And I didn't think he was taking it very seriously as well at the time. So I was like, well, maybe it's not for me. But again, my wife pushed me to go and find a new therapist and find someone new. And actually, it was fantastic.
It's interesting that you say about the first therapist didn't work out. Like, when I speak to people now, maybe like you can sort of verify it yourself as well, that a lot of people seem to not find the right therapist straight away.
Yeah.
Because I mean, how many people have one therapist and then give up? They're like, oh, it just didn't work for me. When actually they should be like, do you know what? This person's not right for me. I'm going to continue and find someone else that is better. I was fortunate to have just find, maybe listening to you saying that your first one didn't work out, that I did a little bit of homework and then sort of found someone and stayed with that one person. But yeah, interesting to hear from you that essentially, was it the second one?
Yeah, second one.
Second one worked out.
The thing is, like, what you got to remember is we're all human at the end of the day, and sometimes you just don't get on with someone for whatever reason, and that could be a valid reason for not using that therapist. This is a really important thing, right? You're essentially opening yourself up, and especially from a male centered point of view, that's vulnerability. So you need to make sure that person that you're choosing to be vulnerable with, and you're choosing to open yourself up to, is someone that you want to do that with, because it very easily. I know I've heard of people who have gone into therapy and just kind of closed up and not spoke about what they're feeling and not spoke about what what might be the triggers and
the core.
Exactly. Yeah. And they're triggers. Like, well, I'm not going to tell them that. And if you don't tell them that, they can't help you.
Then you're wasting your time.
Exactly. You're wasting time and you're wasting money.
Yeah. So post therapy, would you say, I mean, healed is definitely not the right word, but do you feel that, I remember you saying to me, you couldn't relax on holiday. You'd go to some stunning, beautiful places with your family, with your wife, and you were struggling to kind of enjoy yourself. And then I think you said to me, and it made me laugh, I remember it, you stayed in a tent in Wales. It rained the whole weekend or week or whatever. You got really soggy, and technically that's the kind of holiday where you'd be like, oh, it was a rubbish holiday because the weather was rubbish. But because it was the first outing post-therapy, that actually you had the best time.
Yeah, and just to clear things up, so during the therapy, I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, PTSD and OCD. So all of those combined, it just kind of meant that a lot of things would make me feel really anxious.
Yeah.
The anxiety would then make the OCD worse, and the PTSD was, I think, caused by that mugging at knife point. So what would happen for me, and it started out quite young, is that I would never really experience enjoyment at the time things happened.
Yeah.
So I'd go up to London to see a lot of gigs and festivals, and I wouldn't really enjoy myself until I was home, and then I'd look back and be like, oh, that was great. But the entire time I'd be in like fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
I'd be like checking around, making sure no one's going to pickpocket me, or there's no one there that's going to try and fight me or anything like that.
Yeah.
And this is all, these are all things that, like, they contribute to me being tired all the time, because my brain is constantly coming up with solutions to a million problems that will never happen.
Yeah.
And holidays were a big stressor for me. And even now they are quite, I get quite anxious about holidays. The week, 2 weeks before, I started getting anxious, and I want to start packing just to make sure I've got everything sorted. I want to do all that. And then I'm worrying about getting to the airport, and I'm worried about plane, and I'm worried about this. I'm fine with flying.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of a pain, because I don't like the length of traveling. It's a bit of a faff, but I don't mind flying.
Yeah.
Then I would get there on a holiday, and I'd maybe have like 1 or 2 days where I'm like, okay, cool, I can relax. The cortisol levels are dropping, fine. And then like Wednesday, I'm like, oh my God, I've got to fly home. So now, oh, what if the transfer's not there to pick us up and take us to the airport? What if there's a
Yep.
problem? All these things, realistically, I can't help if these things happen. And I can't do anything about it. But my brain will be like, well, what are you going to do? You know, how are you going to resolve the situation? Because especially if I'm on holiday with just my wife, I'm like, well, how do I fix this for me and my wife? You know, I feel like I've got to be there and resolve every problem. And to be fair, that is probably across most of our life. I kind of have that feeling that I need to be the one that's always got to be switched on and that sort of thing. But it wasn't until I had therapy and we went to Wales. It wasn't a tent, but it was quite a small little Airbnb, and it had poured down with rain, and I just experienced it. It felt like I was experiencing it for the first time.
Yeah.
And that was so nice because, you know, I wasn't worried about, oh God, have I got, you know, it was quite a big storm at the time as well. And if I remember correctly, I think it was Storm David as well, by the way.
Big D.
Big D. And I could have been worrying about the Severn Bridge being closed because of the winds. I could have been worrying about all this, and I probably would have been before this, where I was worried about, you know, my car being parked slightly farther down the road so I couldn't see it outside the Airbnb. These are all things that I would worry about normally, but at that point, I was like, I need to just sit back and, you know, let those thoughts come to me.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's nothing I can do about it. So just try and be present, try and enjoy yourself and feel all of that rain hitting you all at once when you're in the middle of a walk somewhere, and just enjoy it. You know, these are experiences that we should be living. And a lot of the time the experiences I would have only began as soon as I got home.
Okay. And I remember you saying this was, I think the employer that you were working with at the time, was it something like you get like 10 free sessions or something like that? Was that the case?
Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to have private medical insurance.
Okay.
And they covered mental health.
Yeah.
In that, so I could be referred to 10 sessions.
Yeah.
If my therapist thought I needed more, they could open it up a bit more, and they could speak to the Booper at the time. They could speak to Booper and kind of get more if we needed. But I think 10 was probably a good amount.
And I think, like, for anyone listening, like, check your employee benefits,
100%.
because yes, you get money off your glasses. Yes, you get money off your dental or whatever, but there might be something in there where actually you might be someone that's thinking about, you know, having some therapy, and actually you can have it for free because
100%.
it's a benefit.
So with mine now, there is an excess to pay,
Mm-hmm.
but there is an excess with most things insurance wise. So, but it would be a lot cheaper. And, you know, if you go through the NHS, I've not had that experience, so I can't tell you, but from what I understand and what I hear, it's quite a long wait for those sort of things.
Yeah.
So if you're in a position out there and you think you can do it, then I would highly recommend it. Even if you don't really think you need therapy, I would just advise speak to a therapist, because I think the world is so fast paced now. And I don't think, you know, we might get a little bit conspiracy corner here, but for me, I don't think humans have evolved as fast as our technology have. You know, there is still part of us that needs a slower pace of life. And I think part of how I feel a lot, and part of what gives me anxiety, is kind of two warring sides. There's a side of me that loves the technology, and I love, you know, the fast paced nature of life now. But there is that part of me that struggles to keep up with it. And actually, is there not more to life than this? And I think even a question such as that, you know, you can explore that in therapy. And I think you can get to an answer where you can maybe help to resolve some of those conflicts.
Well, look, well, thank you for sharing, obviously, everything you just said, you know, about your mental health and the journey that you went through. Sort of leading into myself, you know, meeting with you and then you explaining all of that to me in that coffee catch up. And I was just like, almost like a light bulb in my head went off, and I was like, wow, that's really powerful and really cool. And then I don't know if it was the same day, but a very, very short time after that, I was like, I would love to have some therapy. I'd love to figure out why I am the way I am, be as self-critical as possible. And I think, you know, as a father and as a husband, I was like, why don't I try and be, I wouldn't say I'm a bad father or a bad husband, but why don't I try and be better at both those things, and at the same time be better for me as well. Although at that point didn't know that I was going to find out that I needed to be better for me, if you know what I mean. And talking about the journey, I guess did some research. I went online. I wanted a local therapist. Found them on Google. Researched their profiles. Had a little look, and again, just for context, the therapist that I went to, it was like £60 for an hour, so £1 a minute. And you know, I managed to sort of save some money and figured out that, do you know what, at least for the next month, let's do one session a week for a month. So 240 quid for the month, which is a lot of money to some people. It's a lot of money to most people, but it's like, I'm going to buy myself a very expensive present.
Yeah.
Let's do this, and let's see if after a month I do less, or whether that month was worth it. And I think, you know, first session was like, let's get to know you, Dave. Tell me your background. Boom. Second session, okay. And I just remember every single session using the notes bit on my iPhone and just putting in tons of notes. It might be that I've had a conversation with someone, or an argument with the wife, or a disagreement with Layla about something and now she's crying, or a past memory with mom, or with my sister or my dad. And going into every session and using those 60 minutes as best as I could, and thinking, right, let's unpack this. Let's digest this thing, or this situation, or what happened. Or me asking the question, why am I like this? And I just remember, like, the second or third week in, that it was light bulb after light bulb of like, wow.
I mean, it's crazy because I did a very similar thing, you know, and I remember Shah and I had a bit of a blow up. Like, I was half through my sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that, like, one of the things that I do is I punish myself. So I remember this was a really innocuous thing. I think Shah been on a hen do, and I said to her, "Oh, when you get back, we'll order a takeout. Like, I'll pay for it." What Shah thought I meant was that we can order a takeout and she'll choose what takeout it is, and I'll pay for it. What I meant was, we'll decide together, and I'll pay for it. She suggested something I didn't want, and then she was like, "Well, okay, I don't. If you want someone else, get someone else. I'm not that bothered by it."
Mm-hmm.
And I took that as like, you're causing a problem here, because you don't want to eat unless we have exactly what you want. It's not what happened. She was like, generally like, "I've eaten a lot today. Like, I'm really not hungry. Like, if you're going to order takeout, get takeout. You know, and if you get, I think it was Wagamama's, she was like, I can get something small there."
Yeah.
But I was like, I want something like a Nando's, or something a bit more substantial and a bit more kind of stodgy. In the end, I think I just like stormed out. I went into the kitchen. I just made myself like sausage and chips and sat on my own in like the dining room with like the light off, eating. And Charles like, "Can you not see what this is, like what you're doing to yourself? Like, you're punishing yourself because you think I'm upset at you." She was like, "I'm not upset at you. You've taken it that way." And that's because that's the way my brain takes things, because, you know, because of the life I've lived, and because of that. And I think the biggest thing you learn from therapy is not necessarily how to heal yourself, because I don't think, you know, that job is never done. But you're better able to kind of understand your triggers and understand why your thought process is that way. And once you understand why you think that way, then you can take steps to resolve it, you know, and to resolve conflicts. And I know kind of that, you know, my brain's always been, you must be the fault here. You must be the problem, you know, and sometimes I'm not the problem. That's not saying sometimes I am the problem, for sure. But, you know, there are times where I will just punish myself needlessly.
Would you say communication as well has been a big learning from therapy, or not so much?
I think, see, I was always quite communicative with my wife. Sure.
Okay.
Other people, not so much. Like, I mean, the entire time you knew me at Primark, you probably didn't think I had any sort of anxiety or anything like that, because I was so good at masking it.
Yeah.
You know, and I could be outgoing, and I could be bold and confident in settings, but then, you know, I'm very much an introvert. By that I mean, when I need to be on my own, or need to be, you know, at home to recharge you know, being social drains my battery. And I think just being able to maybe express the way I was feeling, you know, having had therapy and understanding the way I was feeling, I was able to be a better communicator around the way that I'm feeling right now, especially to show. And it helped at the same time. My wife was going through a diagnosis for ADHD.
Yep.
So she was learning very similar things about herself and the way that her brain reacts to things and how she acts. So it was very much that COVID period was great for us personally, because we really were able to develop ourselves.
I think, like, continuing on with my journey, I think as the weeks sort of tick by, and the things that we spoke about in the sessions, what was really, really clear is the lack of self-love. That's just the way I was brought up, unfortunately. And I think more than ever now is my awareness of self-love. I remember in the early days, I think my therapist told me to do this thing where, no, maybe not, maybe I'd seen it on social media or something, but look at yourself in the mirror and pretend that you're talking to your best friend. Like, the person you see in the mirror isn't you, it's your best friend. And, like, you know, if your friend's down or they're struggling or they're going through a breakup or they've just lost their job or whatever, like, what advice are you giving, you know, your best mate? You know, you're looking at them going, mate, don't worry about it. I'm here for you. I love you. It's all good. Da-da-da-da-da. And actually, but it's you that you're talking to. And I think sometimes I even do it now. There are times when feeling pretty glum, bit down, look at myself in the mirror, talk to myself as a best friend, and find that quite useful. Like, is there anything maybe you do that kind of helps you maintain your mental health?
I think for me, it's just being, like, understanding of myself.
Okay.
And, like, so I can't remember what the test was called, but I had to do this test. It's 100 questions, and basically what that test works out is it kind of works out how your brain is mapped and how you think. And one of the biggest things that came out of it for me was that I hold myself to a higher standard than I would hold someone else. So, you know, for example, if my wife knocked over a cup and broke it, it's not a problem. It's not a big deal. If I did the same thing, end of the world situation. And that would cause me great deals of anxiety. So it's just understanding and being kinder to yourself. And I think that's the biggest thing I can say. You know, we've all got our kind of our monkeys on our back, right? We've all got our things that drive us, the things that cause us to feel down, you know. But at the same time, we're all human. We're all learning. We're all trying to get through life. Life is hectic. Life is busy. Give yourself a chance.
Yeah.
And I think therapy is so good because it kind of validates you a bit. It's like, you know, you don't have to. For me, you know, I would have to be perfect all the time. Why do I have to be perfect?
Yeah.
For who am I being perfect?
Yeah.
Because, you know, for everyone else, they don't need to be perfect for me. So why do I need to be perfect for them or for myself? And I just think, like, having that knowledge and that awareness of that, it has been the biggest gift.
It's boring being perfect. You will have no one to relate to.
It's true. It's true. But then the conflict in that is that deep down knowing I'm not perfect. So me trying to be perfect, but knowing I'm not going to be perfect, of course I'm going to be anxious all the time because I've got these two rival factions warring in me of where I need to be perfect, but I know deep down I'm very much not perfect. So I mean, that's just it. I think for me, it's just understanding that I am going to have these thoughts. And even now, you know, I do think these things about myself, but then I have to catch myself.
Yeah.
And be like, come on, like, you know, a lot of the time I would go straight to the fight or flight, straight to, I think the id, I think they call it.
Right.
Straight to the lizard brain, you know, the prehistoric ancestor, which says we must fight this or we must run away. That's our only solutions. Where if you just take it, you know, and this is actually the practice of mindfulness.
Yeah.
When I first learned about it, I was like, this is wishy-washy stuff. I don't know what the point of this is. It's a bit, you know, never really got into that mysticism stuff. Didn't really know what was going on with it. But actually, that the art of breathing and just being present and focusing on that breath, what that does is it just calms you down. And it means that I was able to get out of that kind of fight or flight and have my sensible, my consciousness kick back in, and I can start using my logical brain instead of the caveman brain. And I think that is another fantastic tool as well.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I think it's interesting to sort of dive into like other things that maybe answers that, you know, I think we're all looking for answers sometimes. And I think for me in my therapy, I was definitely at a point where I was really unhappy in my marriage, like really unhappy. And I thought, and I'm sure there was even a conversation with the wife before the therapy of like, I think we need a couples, you know, therapist or couples therapy, couples something, need something, because I'm just really unhappy. But she had no idea. She's like, oh, really? What, we're there? And I'm like, yeah, this is bad. And one of the biggest sort of learnings from therapy for me is the communication aspect. I spent years with the perception being all wrong. My wife's angry at me. She must hate me. No, actually, in those moments, you know, what I now do is, hey, babe, I can see you're struggling. Let's have it, you know, can you talk to me? Can you open up to me about it? Maybe I can help you. If not, I'm just here for you. Give me a hug and I'm here for you. Let's just sit together. Let me rub your feet. Let me do what I can for you. I'm in good spirits, so I'm going to pass a bit of my positivity over to you.
You take the burden, right? You take some of the load.
Exactly. And as she would with me and I with her. But there was definitely, I think, you know, when as a father, you know, you have this kind of amazing relationship before your children are here, and then when the child's here, all your love goes into the child, and you kind of forget each other a little bit, which is really sad because I'm a very, very loving romantic person, and didn't feel that love that much the first few years of my daughter being around, which is really sad, which is why I kind of thought my marriage was over, right? And all it was that she was going through some things, I was going through some things, and I was looking at her, just always trying to, it was almost like I was scared to ask her what was wrong. So you're kind of gauging it from afar and you're like, okay.
That's because in your head, you think that you are the problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and I think just sort of the art now of communication of you know, we almost over communicate, you know, and everything I've said about thinking that my marriage was over, like wife knows about that. We've spoken about that. But there's a real element as well in a relationship where you're basically saying to this person that you're in love with, whether you're married or not, hey, I am all in to this relationship. Are you all in as well? Because if they aren't, then my friend, you deserve someone that is.
Yeah.
Or they need to realize that, you know, you need to be all in as are you in order for this to work, because everyone deserves that. But there's an element where if the person says, actually, no, I'm not all in, that, you know, you then part ways and things get a bit difficult. That's a really difficult conversation to have. But I was willing to have that conversation because it was all or nothing for me.
Yeah.
Love is such an important part of my life and how I feel, that if I don't feel the love of my wife, what's the point?
And I think it's hard, right? Because, and maybe this is a gender stereotype, but I think men quite often don't pull the same weight, the emotional weight, as women. You know, it's well trodden ground that we think very differently to women. And I think what we perceive as problems is not something that they would perceive as problems. And you know, what I try and do with my wife is really place myself in her shoes and be really empathetic to her situation. Because it's not about me at that point. And when we start talking about, you know, us as a couple, like I try not to think about me versus her. It's about us.
Yeah.
And what is best for us. And I think, you know, in that situation, I would love to know how many men out there have came to the same crossroads that you did and decided that, you know, therapy wasn't on the cards. So they what could have been a really happy and fruitful marriage has ended, or relationship has ended, just because someone wasn't willing to put the work in. And I think that in itself shows that you are a good husband and a good father, because you've put that work in for your family to make sure that that family unit is as happy and healthy as possible.
Yeah, I think another driving factor behind having the therapy as well was seeing the usual stuff on social media that a child's life, or a child is at its most spongiest around the age of like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
That's when they really absorb their environment and look and listen and are looking for influence and that kind of stuff. And my daughter was literally approaching that age, and I thought, okay, I feel like I'm a good dad, but how do I make sure, because none of us parents want to mess up our kids' lives, right? And how can I be the best that I can be and react in the right ways in the conversations that we're having, and all, can't be perfect, but how do I make sure I don't mess my child up is essentially the kind of, the situation.
Because there's that phrase, right? It's the axe never remembers, but the tree will never forget. Meaning that and this is true, because I can think of things when I was, a child that like my parents had said to me that I still think about now. Whereas I bet you anything they don't remember that. When they raised their voice, when they said something to me, I remember that, but to them, it's nothing. And that's, I think, so if and when I have kids, that's exactly the mentality that I'm gonna leave. They are, for that first part of their life, you are their life. So why would you not want to make that as nice and as healthy as possible?
At that age of 7 was when my parents separated. And I remember it being quite rocky before they separated. So the age of sort of 5, 6, 7, it was very, very uncomfortable as a child to be around them. And that's really what's kind of spurred me on to make sure that when I'm older, that I, before meeting my wife, that it's like, okay, build that foundation, get married, and then have children, and make sure that that child has 2 parents and all the love and respect, all the things that if you could sit down and write on a bit of paper, the theory side of how to raise a child, I want to tick as many of those boxes as I can.
That's how you break generational trauma.
Yeah.
That is how you have to be the first one to stand out of the line and say, whatever happened to me, I'm not going to do that to my kids. I didn't grow up, it wasn't awful. It wasn't bad. It was pretty good as childhoods go. There are a lot of people that are a lot worse off than me. But at the same time, going back in my family, there are generational trauma. There is generational trauma there. And, I can see that in my parents and their siblings, my aunts and uncles and my grandparents. I can see that, and I don't want that for the future.
Is there anything else you would like to say about mental health?
I think this sort of conversation is so good, man to man. There has to be a point where we as a gender, right, we kind of have to stop looking to women for validation. We need to have a conversation between ourselves. If we're not feeling right, then let's deal with this and let's get our own ducks in a line, right? And I think and that's why I decided. That's why I told you. That's why I've told pretty much anyone where the topic comes up. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going out and telling people straight off I've had therapy. But when that topic comes up, I don't shy away from it.
Yeah,
because I think it's so important.
Yeah,
and I want to show people like that there shouldn't be a stigma towards it, right? If I had a broken leg and I went to the hospital and got a cast on it, no one would bat an eyelid.
Yeah.
So why would you then have a negative opinion if I've gone to seek therapy for a mental health condition?
Yeah. I've had recent chats with friends where they are struggling, and you can see they're struggling. Maybe they've just had a birthday or an anniversary, and you're like, oh, how did it go? How was your birthday? Or how was the anniversary? How was the dinner? How was the party? Or what did you do? And it's, well, I didn't really do much. Or they weren't interested in, this or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And you're oh, is there a problem there or something? And you're like, look, I mean, I'm not saying, go and do therapy, but I'm like, look, if you want to talk to someone, like, I'm here. You can talk to me
Absolutely.
about it. I'll listen.
Just ask
I'm
the question.
not going to judge him. My friend, my brother recently, bless him, he split up with his long-term girlfriend. Like, how old? 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
And it's one of them, like, I want him to feel love again and, like, get him, pick himself back up and get on that horse and ride that love train or whatever. But there's that real element of, like, mate, I'm just here for you.
I think the thing is, you just have to ask the question, are you okay?
Yeah.
Some people will tell you what's going on. Some people won't. Some people, it's just the thought that actually someone does care. Someone's asked that question. And I think, there's the stereotype of, you spend the day with your lads, and then you come back and your wife was like, well, how's his girlfriend? You're like, I don't know. What's he doing for a job? I don't know. Because that's not what you talk about.
Yeah.
But really, we should be talking about that. And, and I think one of the biggest bits of advice I can give any specifically male listeners to this is get yourself a group of friends that you can be vulnerable with.
Yeah.
And just, we can all have a laugh. We can all have a bit of a joke. But at the end of the day, when things get serious, you need to make sure you have a good group of people around you. And, I have that, I have that with you as well. So, I'm very lucky and very fortunate to have that in my life. And I appreciate that. And I'm grateful for it.
Yeah.
But I think anyone out there should be happy to listen to your friends. At the same time, let's hope your friends will be happy enough to listen to you.
Yeah, that's really nice, mate. What would you say is the best advice you've ever been given?
Oh. I think, and this is probably something I said in that Primark interview way back in the day, and I think is a little story. So I remember when I was about 14 or 15, and all my friends were going into town. So and I didn't have any money at that point. So I was like, "Can I have some money?" And my dad says, "If you wash the car, I'll give you some money to go to town." So I rushed through, got the car washed, went back inside, said, "Right, car's washed. Can I have some money now?" And he said, "No, I want to have a look first." And I'd done a horrific job. I'd rushed it, and half it wasn't clean at all, and I'd barely used it. And in the end, he said, "Well, you're not having money." I didn't go to town, and I think that wasn't specifically advice, but that lesson that he taught me there was like, if you're going to do a job and you're going to get paid to do a job, then you should do a job well. And I think that can relate to your mental health as well, because you should be doing yourself justice and be doing a good job on your own mental health.
Build a rep.
Yeah. You can't fix things with plasters. So, if you want to make tangible like differences in your mental health and in your life, then you've got to put in the work, and you can't take shortcuts.
Yeah, I mean, something I've said before as well about best advice is there's this real stigma about sort of happy wife, happy life. And for me, it's happy me, happy her.
Yeah.
We've got to look after ourselves, think about that self-love. I used to feel really guilty watching football in my house. I've got a very large TV. I've got all the channels. I subscribe to all of the Netflixes and the Primes and the everything. I've got every channel on this planet that in front of me. And particularly the reason why I have that set up is I love to watch football.
Yeah.
I'm a big Arsenal fan, as you know. You're a big Saints fan, right? And there was this real guilt around me asking my wife and my daughter, like, "Hey, can I watch football, please?" Bearing in mind, it's my TV. I pay the bills. It's all me. And now I don't feel that anymore. I'm like, by the way, just to let you know, I'm going to be watching football.
Yeah.
And I feel a lot less guilty. And that for me is a big part of my self-love. I love watching. Don't get me wrong. There are times when they're like, "Oh, for God's sake, you're putting football on again." Football's on every 3 days, right?
Yeah.
Soz about that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to watch it because it's great. And every game is, this is the most important game. This is the most important game. Da, 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 da. But actually, the wife now goes upstairs with my daughter, and they watch TV together, and they're starting watching like is it Stranger Things? It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
So there's a again, so they're watching something on Netflix that they both enjoy.
Yeah.
It's a big series thing, and it's not like they're locked. They're somewhere else in the house.
They're not relegated.
angry.
Yeah.
You know, they're actually enjoying some quality time together, watching a series on Netflix.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a nice positive spin on it.
I married a football fan, so that solved that problem for me.
My wife's QPR, so
Oh, Christ.
so yeah, it's like, what other things do you do for self-love? What would you say you, because there's this selfish feeling, but actually it's important, I think, to be selfish, to be selfless.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So my wife and I, we are very well matched in terms of our hobbies. I'm a big video gamer, always have been,
Yeah.
always will be.
Yeah.
My wife is as well.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of, and obviously understanding her ADHD and understanding how my brain works, we do a lot of this thing that we call being separate together. So we'll sit in the same room, we'll have maybe headphones on, I'll be playing my game, she'll be playing her game, we might have someone on the TV in the background, and then we'll check in with each other every hour or so. You know, do you want a cup of tea? Do you want a snack or anything like that? We're not necessarily spending time together, but we're spending time together, if that makes sense. You know, we're separate but apart. And I think what really helped me is kind of cultivating and helping her like interest in video games to kind of grow. She'd always played games, she'd always done it, but I think there is a stigma probably around sort of women that play video games in their like late teens and 20s that is a bit weird. Whereas for me, like, you know, I used to really love when she would play The Sims, because it meant I could play whatever I wanted.
Right.
So what that meant was if I bought myself like a new gaming laptop, then I would give my old one to Shah. So all of a sudden she's got her own devices and her own things to play on. And that just makes things a lot easier, because gaming is probably my number one hobby. You know, gaming, we read together as well. So we both have separate books, and we'll just spend some time reading. We go on walks together. So a lot of the stuff that we do together. We have very matching hobbies, but I haven't felt guilty for a long time in wanting to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But we worked at it, right? Because, you know, when we first started dating, it was a problem when I just had a PlayStation and I needed to use the one TV we had in the house. Right. And Charles was like, well, what am I going to do? You know, there is conflict here. So, but that's what relationships are about, you know?
Yeah.
Well, how do I solve this? Well, if I buy myself a gaming laptop, then it's fine. I'm not taking out the TV.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, more possibilities open up. And now we have a house jam-packed full of technology and gadgets and games consoles and everything. I bought a Switch 2 recently.
Nice.
Char wasn't too thrilled that I'd spent the money on a Switch 2. But I bought Pokopia, which is the Pokemon game that's just come out.
Yeah.
I haven't seen my Switch 2 in about a month because Char's been playing it. So
amazing.
You know, these are the things. You know, I don't mind that. I would rather encourage her to have fun and to make sure that she's happy, so that I can be happy at the same time.
Okay. Are there any sort of tips or tips or tricks or things that you do for anyone kind of watching this? Like, something that comes to my mind is, in the times when I'm feeling low, and obviously you can't just wait, you know, save that moment and bring it to a therapy session, or maybe, you know, it's late at night, you've had a really crazy day, or things have happened or whatever, and the wife's gone to bed and the best mate's on holiday, or you don't want to bug anyone because everyone's out having a great time or they're asleep, and you're like, do you know what, I'd like to kind of empty my brain a little bit. For me, I go on to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And chat's like almost my best mate. You know, the amount of work that it does for me, absolutely unbelievable from a work perspective. But from a personal perspective, I'm finding that it's a real help of me emptying my brain, going, look, hey, this is how I'm feeling right now. And the kind of response you get is like a friend. Yeah. You know? So would certainly recommend for anyone that's looking for some advice or whatever to certainly do that. Now, obviously, if the thoughts are a lot more serious, then obviously seek that help, whether it's a Samaritan's call or whatever. And if it's a serious thought, seek the correct channels. But I just think I'm always trying to figure out why my mind is doing what it's doing. Yeah. Why are you feeling this way? What's happened? And actually unpacking it with ChatGPT. seems to really, really help me kind of stabilize my mental
I
health a
don't think
little
you're
bit.
alone there. I think that's quite a common thing,
Yeah.
especially, you know, with like, you know, the male loneliness epidemic or
Yeah.
whatever it's called. I think that is generally on the rise. For me, I think I mentioned mindfulness.
Yeah.
I would like what I would, as I work from home pretty much most of the time. My wife's a teacher, so she's always, whenever she's working, she's out. So I'm at home quite a lot, and there are times where I get stressed and I get a bit down. What I try and do is, if I'm sat at my desk, maybe I'll close my eyes, I'll open the window, and I'll just try and listen and see what I can hear. And what that will do is it'll just help lower my cortisol levels and just make me feel just, you know, just that taking me out of the situation for a minute. Sometimes you can have thoughts and not have to unpack them. Just let them wash over you. You know, that's part of what mindfulness is having a thought, like reading that thought and knowing about that thought, but then just letting it go. You know, we don't always have to unpack everything, especially if we're in a situation where, you need to get back to what you were doing very quickly. Sometimes you can just, let's just take a moment and slow things down and let that logical side of your brain come to play. And I think when I've been stressed from work and I've got to figure out a solution to a problem, the more I think about it, the less I can think about it. So sometimes just taking that moment to reset, go back to zero. Let's just, switch off, focus on my breathing for 3 or 4 minutes, do a quick meditation maybe. And then when you come back, you find that focus again. It's like, walking away, go for a walk. One of the biggest things for me that has improved my mental health is joining a gym.
Okay.
And I've always, you know what I'm like. I've never been a gym guy. Never.
I didn't know that about you, if I'm honest.
I never went to the gym.
Okay.
This was the
Just
first.
naturally hench.
I just like to eat. I think I think I went to the gym once when I was 14.
Yeah.
I played a lot of football. That was it. And then I only went to the gym for the first time last June. It's been nearly a year. But I go 3 times a week, and it's so good. Just for getting out that stress. If you're feeling like a bit of pent up anger, a gym workout.
Yeah.
And I know it's not, sometimes people, gym's quite expensive, right? You can't do that for everyone. Go for a run, go for a walk. And you will get fitter, but also it's going to help you. It's going to help work out your brain. You're going to get a lot of stuff out and you'll feel a lot better. And I remember the first time I went for a run for years, like I probably hadn't run for 3 or 4 years. And I went for a run and I remember coming in and my legs I couldn't walk properly. The lactic acid in my legs was crazy. But I felt so good. And I felt like actually I deserved that. That is part of taking care of yourself, I think.
Yeah.
And that doesn't get enough good press, I think.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Like you see a lot of sort of funny social media clips about, hey man, are you feeling down? Yeah. Have you been outside today? No. Have you eaten? No. Have you done this? No. Have you been to the gym? No. And you're like, wow, I don't know why you're feeling down then, mate. And you're like, okay, that's one way of kind of looking at it. But yeah, just doing like even one of those things, like you say, going to the gym,
sure,
will certainly
and
help,
like obviously,
right?
like people have lots of different complex mental health conditions, right? I'm not saying that if you're right in the throes of chronic depression that go to the gym.
We are here talking about our personal experiences.
Sure, exactly.
None of this is in any way anything other than what we are.
If you need
ourselves.
serious help, please get qualified help.
Yes.
But just little things, little tiny things, little treats to yourself. I have a bath twice a week. I love a bath. I'll go read my book in the bath. I have a glass of wine or a glass of scotch in the bath. And it's bubbles, there's candles, and it's fantastic. And it's little things like that it might just be 20 minutes, half an hour of your time. Yeah. But if you can find if you have something that you get genuine joy, make time for it. Yeah. Make time for yourself. And one of the things that I really hate seeing in this day and age is that whole like grind set mentality. Like we've all got to get up at 5 a.m. and we've all got to go work hard and we've got to make loads of money. Life's not about that. And I don't think that you can live a fulfilling life if all you worry about is money. I genuinely think you need to look after yourself and the people around you and the world around us at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's influence, and there's a 2.0 of that, isn't there? I think, like myself, I'm very heavily influenced by like my father. Like very hardworking guy, worked like 14 hours a day in a job far away, you know, and worked long hours. And he set that reputation of like this hardworking guy. I remember going on like, a work experience when I was like 14 to Tesco's, and my dad made me like go in a shirt and tie.
Yeah.
So I was stacking shelves in Tesco's with a shirt and tie on. And I was the only guy, like I was just trying to prove myself that I was hardworking. So I do more cages of work and all that kind of stuff. And I think, like you say, we're in this day and age now where, like I was saying about sort of bringing up my daughter, Layla, that you don't have to be that way, like you're saying. And I think you can still be that hardworking person that like sets that reputation. But the 2.0 of it is make space for your mental health as
100%.
well.
Don't kill yourself to do it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I mean, you can't take money with you when you go, you know, but you will leave a reputation. You know, and I think I would rather that when I go, I leave with my family and friends, you know, thinking good things of me, not that, you know, I wasn't around, or not that I focused on money and I didn't focus on other things, because I think there's a life out there to be lived. And it's so easy these days, and especially with the influencer culture, to be like, well, this person's earning a lot of money doing this or doing that, and why am I not doing that? It's not always like it looks on social media, right? You know, everyone's got their own crosses to bear, everyone's got their own burdens. Yeah.
I'm going to finish off the podcast with a quick fire round.
Okay.
So, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Ketchup or mayo?
Depends on what it is.
iPhone or Android?
Android.
Mac or Windows PC?
Windows PC.
Nike or Adidas?
Nike.
Southampton win the Prem or England win the World Cup?
That's the easiest question. Southampton to win the Prem. I'd take Southampton to win the playoffs over England winning the World Cup, honestly.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
Messi or Henry?
Messi.
Messi or Matt Letizia?
Matt Letizia.
I knew that was coming.
I knew that was coming as well.
Yes. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Morning person.
Most used app on your phone?
Probably WhatsApp, but if we wanted a non-boring answer, it's Reddit or Threads.
Okay. So you just said about your bath twice a week.
Yeah.
What song are you playing? What's in the background playing?
I have a like a reading playlist that I'll use for any sort of chill activities, which is classical music, it's piano, relaxing stuff that takes me out of it. So when I'm in a bath, that's the soundtrack.
Nice. Final question. Final question. If you had to stand up and talk right now for 10 minutes to a crowd of people, you don't know any of them, they're all strangers, and you've got no script, what would it be?
It's either going to be Southampton, or it's going to be Pokemon, or something other kind of nerdy exploits that I get up to. So anything to do with like video games.
Lovely. Rich, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for
It's
having
a really
me.
nice chat, and let's catch up for another coffee soon, my man.
100%.
Big love.
Big love.